Hey guys, Dr. Rob Kelly here. Great to see you today, guys. Oh, boom! Let's get the guns out. It's 109 outside in Texas. I remember back in the UK, it did get to 110 once, but that was in a freaking oven. So warm. So for the guys in England that are watching, I know it's raining and cold out there, but for the guys that live in Texas, it's pretty hot here today. Got a great show for you today, guys. I was on the internet and YouTube, which I very rarely go on YouTube and Facebook. And I'm looking around one day and I'm sat back and just chilling, and I've got a 6-hour day ahead of me, and all of a sudden popped on out of nowhere was this guy called Matt Keegan. Fuck me. Guys, I've worked with some of the biggest rappers and the best rappers, and I've seen it all and done it all, man. But he did this song on like Big Pharma, and it was only a couple of minutes I caught of it. But I was like, oh my God, I need to get hold of this guy. The guy's going to be signed soon, So I wanted to get him on here before he gets signed, because when he gets signed, he's going to be like, Doctor Who? I don't know any Doctor Rob. What's he talking about? I don't know him. So I wanted to get him on this show, guys, just for you. He's going to rap live. He's an amazing rapper, an amazing guy. He's gone through his own battles and come out the right way, because he did what he's supposed to do, and he helps people now. He's got a couple of gigs booked and all that. We've got him in February at our Dallas convention. He's going to be coming in. We're going to fly him in and look after him. 5-star hotel, nice suite for him. Just an amazing guy. What's happened this week? Not much, guys. I've been really busy. I've got plenty of patients going on. My girls are keeping busy. We've got the English tea shop will be opening soon, September, October, in San Antonio, Texas. English food served by English people in an English environment. Can't wait. Welcome back, San Antonio. Just a quick shout outs. First of all, I have to shout out every single time to our girl, Courtney Davis. So if you want to be on the show, I think there's a list. I'm not sure. Call Courtney, 214-566-1882. You don't have to be somebody. You don't have to be a Matt Keegan. You can be Mrs. Smith from the back roads, but you have a story. And that story needs to be heard, because that story can just about save somebody's life. You never know. Of course, if you feel a little generous, whether it be $1 or $1 billion, it makes no difference to us. The Rob Kelly Foundation, Jackie on 210-502-9578. Give her a call, donate. It's going to a great cause. I'll tell you what we do in the foundation. So just like the book, my book we don't get money off the book. Everything spent on the book, $9, I think it costs, goes straight out to the community. Myself and Janet, as you know, I don't know, 100 grand, 150 grand we give back each year. As part of our deal. So this is all about giving back. So what happens with the foundation is we get the money and we put it in a pot. Now, if somebody comes along and needs a detox, for instance, well, we will pay for that detox. But what we only do, I think we're the only guys that do it, we will send you a letter or an email to let you know that you've just paid for John Smith to go into detox, and we'll keep you updated on a monthly basis as you go. So I want to make sure that your money goes to a great cause, and that not into like a foundation, no idea where it's going. This goes to individual people. Now, we deal with guys that need a new suit to go to court to get the kids once a week, to see the kids once a week. We pay for a 3 to 6 month apartment. If the mom's unemployed and she can't keep her kids, we'll pay for that apartment. We'll pay for lawyers to go and fight for your kids. We pay for everything. You must be struggling. Can't just come and say, hey, Dr. Rob, can I have 50 grand? It doesn't work like that. You have to be so struggling. You have to fill some paperwork in to make sure you are who you are, and we can help you. And just like me, guys, with my homelessness, one guy called Derek, one guy saw me one day, and he took me off the streets, and here I am today, thanks to that one guy. So we never know how we can help, and we never know who we do help. I often tell a story, like if you want to help somebody today, compliment them. Well, I can't do much. Let me tell you, if you're going to build up area where there's people, see somebody with nice sneakers. Sneaker always the best. Hey, man, nice sneakers. Hey, man, nice sneakers. 4 words. That's all you're going to do, 4 words. Hey, man, nice sneakers. When he walks, you go, oh, thank you, man. When he walks past you, turn around and look at him. He's going to look down at his sneakers at least 2 times. Now you've just made his day. So he goes home to the girlfriend or wife because he's in a good mood. She's in a good mood. Then the mother-in-law calls. And because and it just goes on and on from what? Hey, man, nice sneakers. You can change the world with 4 words. You can change the world complimenting 3 people every single day. Because if you think about it, leaders out there, it's not about us. It's not about me. When I get up to heaven, and then I knock on the door, and St. Peter's going to come. He's not going to go, hey, how much was that car you drove? Oh, wow, what's that big house? How many millions was that? He's not going to ask that. He's going to ask, how many fucking people did you work with, Rob? That's what he's going to ask. And I'm proudly going to tell him the number, because that's why I was put on this earth. There are other stuff you see, the material things that you see me out. Listen, my feet are in the trenches, okay? The money and the TV and the books and all that stuff, it keeps my wife happy. Sorry, Janet. And it pays the mortgage. That's all it does. The rest of the stuff, down to me. Matt Keegan is on the show, guys. He's coming up right after this. Baby, welcome back. This is Breaking Through Addiction. My name is Dr. Rob Kelly. Great to be with you today, guys. It's around 1:05 Central Standard Time, and the sun is out in Texas. It's a great day. We have Matt Keegan. Matt, what's going on, buddy?
What up, man? How you doing?
Fucking living the dream and successful. That's how I'm doing, and I know you're doing the same, man. So first of all, again, guys, I want to thank Matt for coming on, because man, he's going to get signed real soon, believe me. This guy's going places. And we're going to say that we had him on the show. That was crazy. So, Matt, tell the listeners and viewers something about you.
Okay, yeah, I'd just like to start off. First of all, that last thing that you just did on the intro, man, just that say something to somebody nice, pick somebody's day up. You know, how many people have you helped? That's my whole fucking thing. I could not, if I were to put something like that in my bio, exactly what you just said, I said, I've never heard you say that before in my life. That's how I know God puts these types of things together, because I live by that. You know what I mean? And for me, I was put on this planet to help people. That's what I really feel like. And just not even that, just to help people with what I've been through. And I've been through some awful, awful stuff. I came up in a very traumatic, violent, wild, drug dealing, drug crazed, mom and dad getting high with me environment. You know what I mean? And somehow I made it out of alive. You know, my mom's been to prison. I've been to prison. We've seen the roughness of it. You know what I mean? And I just, today, that I have to help people. I've tried not helping people. And when I live that way selfishly, my life sucks, you know? So I'm just grateful to be able to do that today. And that's awesome that I've met you through this. That was cool to hear, dude.
Yeah, I think alcoholics and addicts get two lives in one lifetime. You know, we live our first life and it goes to shit. You know, for those that are lucky to get out of that, it's like getting out of a cesspool. People always want to pull you back into the addiction side and the alcoholism. Just have one drink, Rob. Just one drink won't harm, Rob. One line of cocaine is like, you don't know how my mind works. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. You've heard me say that 1,000 times, guys. Three parts of the brain differ in alcoholics and anybody else. This isn't a choice. So, Matt, take me back, if you can, to where it all began for you.
Absolutely. So where it all began for me, my very first memory, earliest childhood memory, is a domestic violence dispute. I'm behind the door and my dad's getting put in the back of a cop car, hauled off to jail. And that essentially set the tone of what my life was going to be like pretty much from then on. So I would bounce back and forth between mom and dad. Mom was poor, broke, you know, we would live off of government welfare. We would bounce around to homeless shelters. Dad was middle class, wealthy, had a farm, you know, had a trucking company that he built up through our family. We had like a 3 or 4 generation a farm that we had built up in a trucking company. So I would go be middle class with my dad on the weekends or for the summers, and I'd go back, be poor and, you know, white trash with my mom. And that's what I did, is bounce back and forth. Mom was a real bad alcoholic. She was like she was like a true alcoholic. She was one of those ones that once she drank, she couldn't stop till she blacked out and caused fucking problems. So there was just a lot of chaos and it's, you know, just stuff getting broke and her getting beat. I've seen, you know, her boyfriend, she'd always pick dudes that would beat her ass and I would always get caught in the middle of it, you know, and that was kind of set the tone. I was the only child for a little while. 2 were brought in from another marriage between her and a stepdad. We were somewhat close in through a lot of that chaos, just bounced back and forth between mom and dad. And, you know, I swore, this is the thing too, a lot of addicts do, is I swore I was never going to do drugs, never going to smoke cigarettes. After seeing what I would pour my mom's beer out. If I caught her with beer, I would freak out if I seen her smoking cigarettes. And then, you know, something changed and I kind of got into the whole, it's early 2000s. I got into the whole skater scene. And then I started hanging out with, you know, some other wayward kids and I started smoking cigarettes and then I started drinking. Then I started smoking a little weed, you know, running around, skating around like it's Lords of Dogtown, you know, because that was like the big thing back then. And to get signed and be a professional skater, that was our big dream. And Yeah, so that's kind of what got me into that first step of drugs. But there wasn't nothing hard out there. It wasn't nothing crazy. It wasn't anything like what it became. It was just pretty innocent back in the day. And I would even argue for a time it was kind of fun. You know what I mean? It was kind of fun. It was kind of innocent. There was an innocence to it before it became what it was. You know what I mean? And then so where it really gets bad is mom and dad got back together. My grandfather died, and so my dad's got this trucking company and farm that he's the head of, multi-million-dollar estate, all this stuff. Family tears itself apart, and prescription pills get involved in it. And this is where all this music that I make now, this is where it comes from. Because I was in the thick 2006, 2007. You could go to a doctor and they'd give you 90 oxy-80s, 120 2 milligrams antibars, Somas, Ambien. I mean, you could just go get it, no problem. So mom and dad ended up getting back together in this big, beautiful home that my dad built with himself. And they started getting prescribed all these pills. And I started taking the pills, and we started doing them as a family. I don't know how that happened. I really don't. I can't tell you exactly when, but I dropped out of school in like the 7th grade, 8th grade, and just started throwing it. My house became the party house because we had a pretty decent house, decent sized, nice house. And parents would be passed out, getting high, and I'd have 50, 60, 70 kids up in my room, and that's all I wanted to do. Like, that was my life. That's how I wanted to be seen and known, as like the cool kid from Castelia who threw the best parties, And this was back before Facebook and before social media. You'd have to make a call off of like a little flip phone, and people would show up and pack out my driveway. And somewhere in the midst of that, I found out that you can go buy these pills for $2 or $3 a pop and then sell them for $6, $7 a pop. And that's how I became a drug dealer. And then I would sell to my mom and my dad. I'd take, like I said, dad had all this money. He's running this company into the ground. He'd give me $2, $3 grand, and I'd go out and buy a whole bunch of pills at price A, sell them for price B, so boom. So I just basic math made me a drug dealer. So, started messing around, and I remember I messed around with some acid. I mixed some Robitussin. I chugged a bunch of Robitussin because that makes you trip, and then I ate some acid, and I never came out of that. I had this real nasty trip because it was Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon acid. And it's good acid when you put it on your tongue, and usually it takes about 45 minutes or an hour and a half to kick in. This stuff kicked in 20 minutes. Just, I took the paper off my tongue and I already felt it. And I ended up going to such like a deep psychosis for a few weeks that, like, even to this day, I still see patterns like move and do that slow breathing thing. So that was the beginning of my lifelong diagnosis with anxiety. And, I'd went to see doctors for this, and they were all too happy to just at 17 years old, 2 milligrams of Xanax a day, and we ended up jamming that up to 4 milligrams of Xanax a day at 17 years old, along with 30 milligrams of Adderall a day because I was ADHD. And, even that back then, I could see that there was an agenda, even with like the 90s and ADHD, how the fuck did they convince us that they got to give us amphetamines to what I mean, to all these children? So they made me a drug addict, and I'm not saying they made me, but at an early age, pills were pushed on me. It was put inside my head to take this shit for a solution. You know what I mean? They never asked me about my diet. They never asked me about what kind of shit went on at home. They never asked me about trauma. None of that. They just said, here, take this, act right, So, and of course I did. That was my part of it too. The program I work today teaches me I definitely played a part. Don't get it twisted. With mom and dad, I manipulated both of them. I took advantage of that situation, and I got high in that situation. So I don't blame any of my circumstance, and I don't say mom and dad, it was their fault. And I certainly did that for a long time till I was probably 28 years old. I would use my circumstances to excuse who I was as a human being, for all my faults and shit. But I worked the 12 steps, and the 12 steps really helped me come into contact with, that 5th and 6th step. 4th, 5th, and 6th really showed me that, like, nah, it's you who carries that. You are responsible. Even though it wasn't my fault that happened to me, I still chose to carry it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just a ne'er-do-well kid. Got into death metal real bad. What's funny? It's ironic I'm even a rapper because I don't really like rap. At the end of the day, I'm a death metal. I'm a metalhead. Like, I just went to incarceration this weekend. Was in mosh pits that were insane. And I wanted to be a death metal drummer, and I got really good at it, and played guitar, and was in a bunch of bands, and would run around, just playing local venues and just being crazy, living the rock star life well before I was anything close. Not that I am now, just anything, you know what I mean? Just doing a bunch of drugs, showing up to venues, getting high, getting kicked out, getting fucked up on stage. And we opened up for some pretty big bands like Chimera and Mushroom Head. Divine Heresy, all big names back then in the metal community. And but I was always just known as being a drug addict, man. I was always known that like people didn't want to come near me, you know what I mean? Because I was the bad influence. Plus, I started dealing some real heavy drugs after a while. You know, after I got good at it, there came this whole space where pills got shut down, and then heroin took over, and you know, meth took over, and you know, once they had that big crackdown, 2010, 11, then all of a sudden hard drugs started taking over, and you know, we kind of all collectively followed into it. I'll never forget how the Suboxone was introduced, you know, because it was never around, right? You know, all you really ever heard of methadone, and it was very far and few between. And then all of a sudden, you just start hearing of Suboxone all over the place. And I just remember, you know, people will dispute this, and I could be wrong, but I remember back then it was common knowledge that the half-life was like 20 days for some reason because of how long the withdrawals would last. So I 100% could have that wrong, but we all would talk about it like that back then. And I remember that me and my mom would, we both had our own sub doctor that we would manipulate, and we would trick this guy into giving us like 4 8s a day. We'd only take a sliver a day, and then we'd sell the rest, and we'd pay our rent. We'd buy more pills. I mean, the first of the month when we went seeing our sub doctor was like Christmas, because we knew and we'd have people lined up like waiting to meet us and buy, you know, our scripts, like, and they would go like that too, because people don't want to be sick, you know. So kind of bouncing all over the place. I'm trying to chronologically put this in order, but I just want to give you a real good example of what it was like, you know, just so you know just how chaotic it was. You know, like I ran with my mom, I ran with my dad. Me and my dad, we overdosed together. We would get high and black out. I would go through his pants pockets. I'd steal, you know, I'd get in a safe, and there'd be thousands of pills in that safe, and I would just take handfuls of them and run back up to my room and do them with my friends. And it was just chaotic. You know, it was chaotic. It was violent. People would get robbed. People would get jumped. We would jump people. I mean, it was just insanity, and I was comfortable in that insanity. I was comfortable in that chaos. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything better. So that's who I was for a long time. Then I went through a hallucinogenic hippie phase where I left all that behind, and I was just going to do the hallucinogen drugs, and I got really bad into ketamine. That ended up destroying my my bladder, because doing, you know, a couple grams of ketamine a day for a summer is not good for your body. And you know, more hallucinogens, just more combination of things that should have killed me. I mean, to say that it's a total miracle I'm alive is not, it has to be God, because I should be dead 10 times over, you know. I'm so fortunate that I didn't catch one of those heroin fentanyl laced pills, you know, because that's when things took a shift. You know, right when I went to prison, I ended up getting caught. I went to prison in Michigan. Me and a friend were running back and forth. We got caught by a SWAT team. Simultaneously, my mom also got caught. She was actually making meth out the house with her, my brother and sister in the house, and she ended up getting 6 years in prison. And you know, that ended up changing and saving her life. And same thing with prison for me. But one thing I do want to comment on is when I was in prison, I was in Michigan outside of Detroit. You know, I seen people stabbed. I seen a guy's head caved in with a lock and a sock. I was pressed immediately. The only thing that saved me was, I'm a death metal drummer, right? And there was an Odinist band that needed a death metal drummer. So I slid right in. I tried out for their band, and don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm a fire fucking death metal drummer. If you give me a good double bass pedal and a good kit, I can kill it. And that ended up saving my life through that prison bit, was death metal drumming for that band. Because after I played for them, I didn't have to put in any work for any gangs. Nobody would touch me. I was good to go. So I flew through my time, and I ended up doing prison boot camp to get out, which was a whole experience in itself. It's in Southern Michigan. It's called SAI boot camp. And it hardened me. You know, it taught me, because remind you, I'd been on Xanax for 10 years. I had to kick Xanax in prison. They just give you anti-seizure medication. They put you in a Bam Bam suit and lock you in a literal like dungeon, a concrete dungeon, while you kick that Xanax. So I kicked it for 2 weeks, and then for the next year, had to go through panic attack after panic attack, and I had to rewire my brain and learn how to breathe when these attacks came on, and tell myself, like, this ain't gonna kill you. It's not, if it's gonna kill you, then you're gonna fucking die. You know what I mean? And that's what I had to come to grips with. Like, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. So that's how I beat the anxiety. And I like to espouse that to people all the time, because I know there's so many people that are trapped by that, and they get stuck by these doctors who just, you know, throw benzos at them and say, oh, here you go, here's Valium, here's Xanax, you know, this is gonna make you feel better to get rid of your anxiety. No, you will get rid of your anxiety. And obviously it's not that way for anybody. And I'm not dogging anybody who takes medication, but I'm saying a vast majority of people who take the medication don't even want to be on the medication, you know. And you can get through this stuff by breathing through it. So I would like for people to remember that, or at least hear that. That's one thing I've been stuck on lately. So get out of prison. Social media is starting to come around. You know, social media is starting to blow up. Everybody's starting to be on it. So I get on it and I kind of start sharing my story. And I'm not really thinking past really anything. I just, you know, share. I just got out of prison. You know, I got a pretty crazy story. You know, nothing really happens. It doesn't really go anywhere. You know, and then I end up, once I'm out of prison, I'm like, well, I'm not going to deal drugs anymore because that was terrifying. I don't ever want to do that again. But I have good insurance through this job and I know just what to say to doctors. So before I know it, I go back to a doctor and I'm on 4 different prescriptions. I'm abusing gabapentin. I'm abusing kratom. I had him giving me Vicodin for my back. I mean, just whatever I would tell this doctor, he would give me, you know, anything. So that ended up leading me to rehab in Florida. And that's how all this right here started, you know. And I went to treatment in Florida, and I remember saying I was against 12 steps for a long time. I thought the 12 steps were a cult. I thought them people were fake. I would go in those rooms and I would listen to those people talk, and it would make me uncomfortable. And what it really was I was just uncomfortable around peace and serenity and sanity. I was comfortable in chaos, you know. So it made me suspicious to see people being friendly with one another. Like, oh, you're just like that for free, like. Yeah, that's not how the world works, buddy. Oh yeah, it is, you know. So I said, all right, I'm gonna digest the 12 steps and I'm gonna really give it a shot, you know. So when I went in there, the guy in my treatment center, and I say this all the time, man, and this has changed my life when he said it too. He said, I want you to find somebody who has something that you want, somebody that your spirit like connects with, you know, and I want you to ask that person to be your sponsor. So they take us to all these meetings down there in Florida. And I came across this guy. His name was also Matt. And I listened to the way that he spoke. He talked a lot about the book. And you could tell he had a lot of knowledge. And he was very comfortable. His legs didn't bounce up and down, you know, sitting in the chair. He's comfortable, you know. And I wanted that because my leg was bouncing up and down. I couldn't sit fucking still. I was jumping out of my skin trying to sit there, coming off of 5 different, you know, substances. And I asked him to be my sponsor. He told me call him every day. I did exactly just that. I called him every single day. Of course, it was awkward. Of course, it was weird. It made me uncomfortable. I didn't want to call this guy every day, but I did. And he showed up for me because when you show somebody like that you're willing, they'll move fucking mountains for you. And this guy did just that for me. Ended up paying for my flight home so I could bring my van back down there. I put my van on an auto train, rode the train back down, and got active, went through the steps. And I wish I could say that was the big aha moment and I stayed sober forever and that just changed my life, but I'm a fuck around and find out kind of individual. So for me, I was really resentful. I didn't want to have to go to these meetings for the rest of my life. I didn't want to have to, you know, I didn't understand then that I get to go to these meetings for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? I didn't understand what this really offered. Yeah. I looked at it as a death sentence. I just wanted to be normal. You know, have a beer on the weekends, maybe smoke some weed every now and then, maybe eat some acid with my friends at a music festival. But like you were saying in the intro, it's not how my brain works. Yeah. And I had to figure that out, you know. So for me, like, I'm not the type of alcoholic that goes out and has a drink and then can't stop. I can go to the bar and I can have a drink and I can get away with it. But that's the most dangerous fucking thing for me, because if I get away with it one weekend, 3 weekends later, I'm going to do it again. Now I'm a professional drinker, and then that will open the door for me to be like, well, now I can take edibles and smoke weed. And then that will open the door to another door before I'm back with absolutely nothing. And I've done that twice. I've had to go back to the steps 2 separate times just for me to get it all together and then rip it all the fuck back down in my head. I've done that literally. I mean, I've gotten so much back just to lose it all again. You know, in the midst of all that chaos, I had a daughter. I missed half of her life, you know, for being in prison and not being there. And when I came back and went through the steps the second time and had almost that 2 years plus the year before, I really really went to work on repairing that relationship. And you got to understand too, like, it takes time. When you hurt your children, they don't trust you. They don't want to hear what you got to say. You've been gone. That's all they know. You ain't been there. You know, her mother ended up dying from an overdose back in 2021. And that really impacted her because her mom essentially like left her, abandoned her, you know, to go out and chase drugs, you know, which I understand, but look what I was doing when she was born. So it was this whole thing, but I knew I had to step up and do better. So again, I ended up coming back home after that relapse, found another sponsor, and this guy, I have 2 sponsors now. This guy really helped me grow as a father, as a human being. I mean, the things that he's taught me changed my life and the relationship with my daughter and just how I interact with her. Me and my daughter are so close today. but I really had to earn that back with a lot of patience and a lot of time. And I mean, it's still not perfect, but it's not where I want it to be. You know, ideally one day she'll live with me, but you know, that I might not be able to have that opportunity. She's comfortable where she's at, and it just is what it is. So for me, I have a God in my understanding, and I trust in God to work all these things out. Can I get my head twisted up about this shit and think about it sometimes? Absolutely, 100%. Do I wish it turned out differently? Fuck yeah. But has it? I mean, it is what it is. This is the reality that I'm in now. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta just keep it pushing and keep doing the next right thing. And that's the only instruction that I'm under from anybody, you know? So back to how the platform and how I started rapping came into be. When I used to rap, I used to just be the guy that would do uppers and just start fucking freestyling in your face for 2 hours, and people, it would be annoying, but I was good at it. I could make people laugh and be funny, and you know, I could like do all this crazy stuff off the top of my head, but I would only work when I was high. And I never thought that I could write sober or create anything sober. Like I had to be high. Like I was a better drummer if I was high. You know, give me an Opana 40 and I will play those drums for 4 straight hours. You know, anything the music I had to be high to do. And that was where my inspiration came from. So when I went to Florida, my ex-fiance at the time, you know, we listened to an artist called NF. I'm sure you know who NF is. She would say that I reminded her of him. And there was this other guy in the space named Kalichi, and he wrote the song Drug Addiction that I used to watch and listen to. And I would listen to it, and I would just always feel like in my chest, like, man, I could create something like that. I could do what they do. You know, I could do what they do, and I could bring something different to this space. And, you know, because I see all these people making all this recovery music, but I don't see nobody talking about like what it was and what these companies are doing and how they're profiting off of our addictions and our deaths. And, you know what I mean? I just don't see nobody talking about it. And it's like, I want to talk about what it was like in that space. I want to bring that. So I wrote my first song, and it ended up going somewhat viral, if you would say. Like, got like 4,000 views on YouTube, but that was a big deal for me, man. And a lot of shares on Facebook. I think like 200 shares on Facebook, and man, I thought I was it. I thought I was the shit with that little thing going on there. But like, every time I put out a song, it would get just enough traction to convince me to keep going. You know what I mean? Because if I didn't get those little things to convince, trust me, man, there's all this external information that's saying, hey, you don't get to be 30 years old and be a fucking rapper, buddy. You know, a lot of people, I remember I told this girl I had a crush on that I was working with in at a restaurant serving in Florida. And she goes, well, what do you do outside of here? And I said, I'm a rapper. And she laughed in my face. I'll never forget. She laughed in my face. But it made me grind so much harder, because when I first started, my voice wasn't all that great. You know, I didn't really have projection, none of that, but just consistently doing it over and over and over, and practicing songs over and over and over. Every time I put something out, it's a little bit better every time. So, you know, I would just really make like little videos and just share them on my YouTube, you know, just, you know, I didn't have like a professional page or anything like that. And then TikTok came out, and I hated TikTok, bro. I did not want to be a part of the TikTok thing. If I'm being 100% honest, I'm not the biggest fan of social media either, just because I don't like what it's done to us collectively as a species, you know, but that's another conversation for a whole other time. So put out a TikTok, I decide, and it does really well. I think it did like 200,000 views, the very first TikTok I made. So again, just like another little push to keep going and keep pushing, right? So I kept going, I kept pushing, and I started to, you know, I got an offer to basically start helping people find treatment. And then I started working with Medicaid, people who don't have insurance, send people to Florida. And I started taking that very, very seriously, and just being a resource and being available all the time. And I would, if somebody was willing, I would drive 6 hours to across Ohio to pick them up, and then drive another 4 hours to drop them off at a treatment facility. You know, because there are resources here in Ohio that if you don't have insurance, you can go and they'll backdate you to Medicaid. You know what I mean? So I don't care what it is that anybody has. I'm down to help anybody anytime. The only thing that I ever ask for anybody to ever have is just willingness. You know, if you're willing, you hit me up and say, Matt, will you please help me? Sure. What do you want to do? I got you. I'll open the door, but you got to walk through it, type thing. So
let me stop you. Let me stop you.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, man, and I promised everybody we'd get through one of your songs that you just wrote. Yeah. It's first time on air. That's what I'm excited about. We got like 3 minutes left on the show. I'm sure you can fill that spot for me. But man, I've got messages. I got too many messages to read right now. I want to get in and you know, hey Mike, good to meet you. Fantastic. I've listened to the song, the Suboxone song, he calls it. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's when I first saw it. Yeah,
that's the one. That's the one.
performance coming on. But listen, Matt Keegan, for the first time, is going to rap this song just for you guys. So, Matt, take it away, buddy.
Yep, this is just I just wrote this 2 days ago, so I just have barely the first verse down, but this is gonna be the next one. It's gonna call it "Part of a Plan" is the name of the song. So just gonna be a cappella, no beat, but we'll make it work. It goes. Today I seen a doctor, told him I was sick. He said I'd have to take a pill in order to exist. Told him all I wanted was to be happy and free. And then he told me in America, that's costing the fee. Okay, you gotta pay the doctor for your visit, son. And in a month, you're gonna have to pay another one. That's how we keep the money flowing. It is never done. People living free. That day will never come. Oh, you think it's gonna change? Yeah, you must be really dumb. The politicians in our pockets all get paid to run. And the money that we make is in the trillions. We gotta keep you sick. So take your medicine. We have told a lie that these people here all believe that if you're breathing and alive, then you're all diseased. We got a cure for the symptoms. It'll cost a fee. You ain't even gotta pay. It'll all be free. America the Great has fallen to its knees. We even figured out how we're gonna tax your weed. Just check the pharmacy. They're selling CBDs. Now the government is running these dispensaries. First verse.
Bam, man. I love that.
Oh, dude, it's the beat fucking smacks. It sounds.
I love it.
It's gonna be great.
Listen, guys, Matt Keegan. I'm just going to put his email across the top. Nice thing about this guy is his response. Okay, so again, I don't mean to keep saying this, guys, because I'm in the music industry for so long. But get chatting to him now, guys, because in a few months' time, he's going to be out there. It's going to be hard to get hold of. Okay, so listen, guys, Matt, I don't know what to say, man. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being you. Thank you for the latest song, man. I'm following. We're going to talk this week for sure. Because I like I said, guys, I adore this guy. He's so talented. He's amazing. Got a fantastic story, man. I called him up. Like we text like a couple of times over the last 6 months. And then I'm sat in the massage chair and I got, the song came on again. You know, this is mind blowing. You'll see when you research it. Okay. And it came on again. I'm like, I'm going to ring this motherfucker. Boom. And all of a sudden it's like, hello. I'm like, it's Dr. Rob. Oh my God. And we hit it off so good, man. So thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being
Thanks for having me.
And we'll talk real soon. But you are freaking amazing. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Hey guys, welcome back to the end of the show, guys. Matt Keegan was on the show, just wrapped his new song. Be coming out real soon. If you don't know who he is, jump onto YouTube or any social media, put Matt Keegan, Keegan. Watch some of his stuff, man. It's absolutely amazing. You know you're married to the right woman when in between that's playing, the little jingle playing, and my wife walks in dancing her head off. Amazing, guys. Listen, be fantastic to each other. And remember, Courtney, if you want to be on the show, 214-566-1882. Don't forget the foundation as well, guys. Jump onto the foundation website, the robkellyfoundation.org, or call Jackie. And we will see you guys next week. Same place, same time, with a brand new guest on, guys. And just have a fantastic week. I mean, we love what we do because we do what we love. I'm out, guys. Thanks.